All right, so like you were saying, titties.
Titties,
Um,
like big titties.
Mega Mommy Milkers.
Speaking of that, Stephanie McMahon was there.
Yeah, 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 she was. She, all right, so welcome to the WrestleMania 41 wrap up. Starting with night one. Uh, that triple threat match, the main event. I started off with the main event.
Well, like I said in the pre-show or the podcast before WrestleMania, it would be interesting to see Paul Heyman turn on CM Punk. I didn't see the double turn. I saw him going back. Oh, look, a Cybertruck. Um, I saw him going back to Roman, and I was like, all right, cool. But then, that was a really, really long, low blow. Like, he really made sure to really get
Yeah,
it.
he grinded that. He wanted to make sure everybody saw it.
Look at me, fucking Roman over.
And I was in that moment, I was really waiting. I was expecting Brock's music to hit.
I was waiting for that too, but it didn't happen. But you saw Seth Rollins kind of sit up and kind of smile. I was like, "Holy crap!"
And he was hinting at it for weeks, at least the last 2 weeks.
So, there's no better guy to have in your corner than Paul Heyman.
No, absolutely not. I said to Katie before WrestleMania even started, I was like, Paul Heyman can do anything, or do you need him to be the good, the baby face, kind of, very analytical, to the asshole Paul Heyman that we all know and love, even to how he was as a tribal chief when he's kind of whimpering like, no, my tribal chief, I cannot do that. It's all believable because it's Paul Heyman.
Because it is
But
Paul Heyman.
but I even said, I was like, I miss the Paul Heyman I grew up with. The screw you, eat this, just shoot promo after shoot promo. That was the Heyman that I missed, and it looks like we got him back.
Man, I'm interested to see it go, kind of building off of that. I know you probably want to talk about, but now they're starting to build. It was a surprise. I mean, I may be jumping the gun, but last night on Raw, I
Yeah,
caught I caught I caught highlights this morning because obviously I work, I
okay.
can't watch Raw. Braun Breaker joined with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, and what better guy? And for a split second, this is someone that didn't watch Raw. For a split second, I thought it was Brock, but you couldn't see until he dropped the hood. I was like, all right, it's not Brock, but Braun Breaker will do. And so now you got this unstoppable force, and now I think they're going to really start
Next big
pushing.
thing.
They're going to start pushing Braun for main event. So going back to WrestleMania, sorry, I just wanted to get that little.
Oh, no, you're good, and I made sure to write down some of the Raw highlights because at the end we could talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seth won with help from
But that's who I picked to win,
Paul.
if I remember correctly with predictions.
You
I
did.
said Seth.
You did.
No, I didn't imagine him winning that way, but Seth Rollins being Seth Rollins, they're kind of pushing him back. Like Seth Rollins hasn't really left the main event since they put him there. He's a yes guy, right? He'll do what he can. He wrestled through injuries. And now they're like, all right, you did this for us. Now we're pushing you in main event. So It'd be interesting to know what direction they're going to push him, as far as if it's going to be for a title or if it's going to be, or whatnot. But yeah, congrats to Seth for winning that match. But it also didn't settle the rivalry between Roman and CM Punk. I think we're going to see more CM Punk. I think Roman's going to take some time off.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Like, CM Punk, the one thing he always said that he never got was the main event of WrestleMania. He got
it.
Mm-hmm. He didn't say to win the main event. He didn't say to walk out champion. He said to be in a main event.
And he got that.
So my question, and it's a question out of the universe, how much longer do you think we have CM Punk? Because do we have him for another year? Is he gonna go out at next WrestleMania and that's it because he accomplished what he wanted? His last little thing. You know what I mean? So that's my only question, and it's a wait and see thing. But
he already knows what it's like to be the top guy in the business. I'm like hit and miss on him. This might be a little side note because when he did leave, he went to AEW or TNA or wherever he went. He was definitely bad mouthing the business, and then no matter where he went, he always kind of stirred up something. And then he got released from AEW, and then he came back to WWE, and it's like, he's if it's all truly kayfabe and he really plays the martyr act very well.
Yeah,
and if that's his motif, it's because he did work from the bottom, right? I mean, he did do. I think he was what was it, Ring of Honor? He worked his way up through ECW, new ECW, not old ECW. Okay. And then he's done. He's done his work, but when he kind of became that main eventer, he became a martyr because it's like he wanted to be like, well, what about me? What about me? What about me? And I go back to the Triple H promo where Triple H called him out. He's like, I worked my way up from the bottom, earned my way, and you're just crying because you never got a shot. And you're like, well, what about me? And you'd rather die a martyr, And I think that was actually from Triple H, like, really going after him. Like, no, you are like a martyr. Like, you didn't earn this shit. Like, you are a martyr. Anywho.
So we'll finish with that. Jade Naomi. I wasn't sure. You called Jade. And Jade and her nips lips pulled it out.
She did. I didn't know the whole storyline behind it. As you know, I work second shift, so me trying to catch, the events that happened, like I didn't know Jade was run down, no storyline run down. But I was just going like, Naomi's been around. I mean, Naomi's the veteran, right? Been at WrestleManias before. I don't know if she's won at a WrestleMania, but you could see her doing the right thing, and I think it was to push, to push Jade, because Jade is definitely up and coming.
Yeah.
She's going to be in the business for a little while, so, do it for her, do it for the younger talent. So I predicted Jade to win. I wasn't disappointed with the match. I think it was some good,
And you're
not
freezing.
disappointed at all.
Yeah, I had, it was a good match, solid match, and Jade's getting better and looked good.
Yeah. And she's only going to get better too.
Oh yeah, she's been getting better since she got there, which is, the place for her to be to develop. The bathroom match. bathroom break match. It ended up being Ray Phoenix versus El Grande Americano. Chad Gable.
That
Gable
match,
won.
I was really impressed with Ray Phoenix.
Oh, he's good.
Honestly, never honestly heard about him, and for a split second, I shit you not, I honestly thought it was Rey Mysterio as another guy. Like, if you look quick, they look similar under the mask, but Ray has a lot more tattoos.
Yeah, and he's a bit stockier too.
But it just caught me. I'm like, how funny would it have been that you got, El Grande Americano versus Ray Phoenix, but Ray Phoenix was really Rey Mysterio, but like Triple H said, they had to put somebody there. He stepped up, performed a good match. He didn't win, but I think Ray Phoenix is going to have a successful career. If he performs like he did in that match, he'll be relevant for a while. Now we all know Grande Americano is Chad Gable.
Yeah, I mean, you've never seen Chad Gable and El Grande Americano in the same place at the same time, but you've also never seen me and Batman in the same place at the same time. So take that as it is.
Yeah, well, first off, all things are possible through Jesus, so jot that down.
Jot it down.
No,
I wrote it on the paper.
It was a good match. Like, Chad Gable as this technician wrestler, and even he did some decent spots for a couple different moves, high flying. Not as many as like Ray Phoenix, but I think it's like, it's only going to be time where there's going to be a match to where it's like whoever loses, it's going to be like something versus mask, right?
Yeah.
And Grande Americano is obviously going to be the one who's going to, if he loses, he's got to take the mask off.
Yeah. When they do it, I can't see it this last, the whole El Grande Americano thing lasting very long. Another couple of weeks.
I think the big thing with the acquisition of the AAA Lucha Libre, I think it's only going to be a matter of time where they might incorporate that storyline with, a Grande Americano versus that. I think that's where it's going to come to a head. Like, he's going to get called out that he's not really, a Lucha Libre, and he's going to have to prove it in order to prove, how disrespectful it is to try to remove a mask, when you're, through the history of Nacho Libre and Lucha Libre, sorry, not Nacho, not Jack Black. I'm hungry. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but like you said, I mean, you called it the bathroom match. I mean, I watched it and I was impressed with Ray Phoenix. So he stepped up, he filled in some shoes, and was disappointed with the outcome, but not shocked that they made El Grande Americano win.
And and Katie even pointed out, like, and this is her coming from somebody who just started watching again within the last year and a half, 2 years, and not to get political, but she even said the only reason that this is a thing is because of the whole Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America thing. That's the only reason they're probably even touching on it, to make a joke out of it.
Well,
And
look at DX back when the Bill Clinton scandal happened.
Yeah.
Where DX was having, where DX did that, that, State of the Union type thing. And,
yeah,
I think it was Shawn Michaels that looked down underneath, like, hey, or something like that, just to poke fun. Like, I mean, not saying it's the same, and not saying, it's similar, right? I mean, it could be like a slight jab political, but it's,
suppose, they're touching on something and making a joke out of it and trying to get a few laughs and some content out of it. But moving on. Oh.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
Now, I was going to say next U.S. title match: L.A. Knight, Jacob Fatu. I picked LA Knight to retain. You picked Jacob, and it was a good match.
I think I predicted that.
Next to
AJ
the main
Styles,
event, that was the best match of the night, in my opinion.
They put AJ Styles did a phenomenal job putting him over. No, not AJ Styles. Who was it?
LA Knight.
LA Knight. Sorry, LA Knight. I don't know why LA Knight did a fantastic job putting him over. They're making a strong push with Jacob Fatu. And you know the bloodline or the new bloodline has got to have some sort of goal. So I think they're gonna hang on to the U.S. Championship for a little while. Because who's gonna beat that guy? How they making him be like this? Samoan werewolf. Who's gonna step up? Like he's already beaten Braun Strowman. So the next thing, if they're on the same show, the only person I could foresee, knocking him off would be like the Rusev if they're on the same show.
Yeah.
Something like that, something of that magnitude. Like who else you got like right now on the main roster that's gonna knock him off that he hasn't already beat?
Yeah. And Fatu winning definitely opens up storylines internally with regards to the bloodline. Yeah, there's definitely going to be that between him and Solo.
But Solo did walk down like he was with him at the entrance. So, there was like always like this friction between them, but Solo walked with him at least in the entrance, and then no interference, which was amazing.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised.
But it was a good match. I mean, I could have seen it going both ways, but LA Knight did a great job, putting over the younger talent. But it's interested to see if he invokes like his rematch clause, how that's going to work out if he does.
Yeah, and it also frees up LA Knight for possible main event push. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now that spoiler, Cody lost.
Yeah, who's gonna take his Cody might take some time off.
Yeah.
So who's gonna be they gotta put some people in place to kind of carry it, if you will.
Yeah. So and depending on what they do with Cena, it definitely there's a lot unsure right now, so we'll see how it goes. The men's tag titles: War Raiders versus the New Day.
Disappointing. Like, I mean, it was. I picked War Raiders. I think you did too. New Day won. It was just, to me, that was like, in my eyes, the bathroom match. More so than the Rey Fenix versus El Grande Americano. And now you got, the New Day, the new Day, or whatever you want to call them, and holding the tag titles. I didn't like that match. I didn't like the results. They had some decent spots. Been shocked in the winning. But they won without cheating, so that was refreshing.
Yeah, I don't hate the New Day winning. I was just like I picked the War Raiders just to retain because I'm like I don't know how this is gonna go, what they're planning on doing, but see where they go with the New Day because I don't hate it. You know what I mean? I don't hate the idea.
Just spit on myself.
Yeah, but I agree. The match could have been so much better.
It could have been, and I understand. Now granted, like I understand, like you got. I'm not knocking not the New Day, but I'm not knocking the War Raiders. They're bigger guys, so obviously, they can only do certain spots, right? generally the guys catching the lighter guys if they jump off the top rope. It was just, to me, some of that was a little sloppy at like certain parts. I'm not saying the whole match, but just certain spots, and it was like, I give it, to Xavier Woods and, Kofi Kingston, because, I've always liked them as talent in general. Great performers. The War Raiders have been around for a few years. I think they were the Viking Raiders before, if I'm correct. So, it was just, I think, like you said, the match definitely, it almost felt like a filler match.
Yeah.
As I call them, like, it's just, okay, we got 20 minutes to fill. Let's put these guys against each other, and it's like, it was, that's, that was my, that match was like my disappointing match. Like, really.
Next match, which is, in my opinion, the number 3 of the night one, women's world title, Charlotte versus Tiffany retained.
Tiffy retained. I think Charlotte did a fantastic job putting her over. Not saying that Tiffany had to be put over, but I think it was like, this was like the passing of the guard, if you will, right? I mean, Charlotte's been in the business for a while. She got thrusted, but not a lot of people were happy with her coming back from injury and winning the Royal Rumble to be to be in the title match. But I thought that match was really good between the two. Charlotte still has it. I personally never seen Tiffany wrestle until then. Just caught glimpses, and she really impressed me. She beautiful woman. I'm not saying that she's not. She's kind of almost got like a power lifter build, if you will.
Well,
she's definitely.
She was a gymnast, like on the Olympics. So she has very much that athletic, super flexible, world's prettiest moonsault kind of, physique.
Right. And that was a good match. I think she chipped a tooth.
Yeah, I saw it. The only thing I'll say for that match is that there, at moments here and there, it looked a little sloppy, like they were a little off cue.
Well, I did. I noticed that in a lot of the, not trying to knock women's wrestling. Men, I think, in general, I'm not trying to get sexist here or anything, but men I think, have a natural faster reaction time to, when there's certain spots where they don't got to, it takes them it's a little faster for them to get set up, or makes it a little natural. And I'm not knocking women. I mean, they do, like, it was stand up. It was a great match, but I know, to your point, like, there's a couple of times where, like, they're going to, like, the turnbuckle and, like, oh, wait a minute, I got to try to get set up here. And you kind of saw them pause, like, all right, let's, and I'm not knocking, it's just,
And for me, part of it might have been Charlotte's still a little rusty. She was out for a while. So she could have still been a little rusty. And, Tiffany's, who's been nonstop for the last year and a half, Charlotte's like, oh, wait, kind of stumbled a little bit, and then they got back on track. But other than that, I agree. It was a great match.
It was.
And then to finish out night one, we got the men's world title, heavyweight title. Gunther losing to Jey Uso.
I picked Gunther to retain.
Yes, you did.
I was wrong, but I think they got a plan in place to do something with Gunther. So, when we touch base on Raw, obviously we can go a little more in depth with that. I just didn't like, I'm not knocking the talent that Jey Uso has, but I'm just, to have Gunther drop it, it's like almost not as shocking as Gunther dropping the Intercontinental title to, like, Sami Zayn. Um, but let's see where it rides with this with a main event. Jey Uso uh, having the title. I personally think he's going to drop it at Backlash. Um, if they so choose to have a world title match, I think
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I could see him doing his Gunther pulling the rematch clause, um, and it being a Backlash. My only issue with that match is, well, two things. Um, I know I picked Jay, and I'm happy he won,
yeah, I mean,
but I wish they would have had Gunther look more dominant, a lot more chops, a lot more slaps, a lot more, you know, power bombs to make it look like Jay's really coming back, like he was really the underdog. And
they
two,
he kind of equaled the playing field, if you will. Like,
yeah, and two, when Jay did get him finally got him in the sleeper hold, Gunther tapped away too quickly. Un, unless there was something seriously wrong, like maybe he was hurt and they had to call an audible.
I
Um,
think I think it has something to go with going off of Raw. Maybe they had him tap out immediately for storyline purposes, right? And they kind of build up off that. Not saying you could build off tapping out, but as you
yeah.
know, you saw Raw and what he did. Um,
See, my initial thought was, and this is within and yeah the memorable moment, Austin Hart Brett at 13. Dave was really cranking down on it, really cranking down on it, and Gunther just passes out.
I think that would have been more acceptable around the fan or around the more believable. Like you just saw,
Yeah,
like he didn't tap out, his body gave out, right?
yeah,
Just like the Austin Bret Hart with the sharpshooter, right? Austin never tapped. That's what he claimed. He never tapped. His body gave out, and
yeah,
just kind of like you gave your body, you gave it your all, and you got beat by the better man that day, right?
yeah. And I think and everything on Raw could have played out exactly the same. It would have changed nothing.
No,
Um, I just think it's like for the last however many days, Gunther was this powerhouse machine that unstoppable, and we really didn't see that very much during the match. And then he taps out immediately.
so
So
I
either
know a
they're
lot of
trying to
people.
say there's a kink in his armor, or what, but it kind of like took a little bit of the luster off Gunther, in my opinion. That's
We'll
just
see
my
where it
2 cents.
goes. No, it makes sense. Like Gunther was like, who's gonna beat him? Who's gonna beat him, right? And the two people in recent history that beat him is Sami Zayn and Jey Uso.
Yeah. So going on to night numero dos, which I do think all in all was probably the better of the two nights. Um, let's uh, let's start with AJ Logan Paul just to get it out of the way. Which
I
you know,
I think AJ should have won that match. I'm
agreed.
tired of them thrusting Logan Paul onto us like he earns everything. Like he doesn't wrestle any house shows or anything. He just makes appearances and doesn't move. But the only wrestles at the pay per views that he wants, which is like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Crown Jewel, and it's like I think that should have been like, hey, I've wrestled for 25 years. You got to pay your dues. The only reason why you're relevant is because you decide to get famous on YouTube and you don't belong here kind of mentality. But um, definitely, I mean, it was a decent match. I just think the wrong person won.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like to give Logan Paul some credit, he's extremely athletic,
He is.
and he puts on a great show. He could have a good match with like anybody. We've seen that, whether it was him and Ricochet jumping across the ring at each other. or LA Knight and now AJ. But I'm like, why are we, we're not talking backlash here. You know what I mean? Yeah, this isn't in your house. This is Wrestle fucking Mania. You know what I mean? And Logan Paul's friggin' winning like over AJ's friggin' Styles. He's not going against Ray Phoenix or El Grande Americano.
Chad Gable.
All right.
But yeah, I think out of all the matches on night 2, I think that one was like, it was a good match, but out of them all, I think that match was like go take a pee break kind of.
Yeah, if you miss it, you're not missing anything.
Right.
Randy Orton, which his opponent was Joe Hendry. It was cool to, again, after seeing Rusev show up on Raw, I'm like, unless there was contractually they couldn't get it done, I was, as soon as his music hit, I was like, oh shit, fuck yeah, they have Joe Hendry came out. I just wish the match was longer. It was like a squash. I was like, I felt embarrassed for Joe Hendry.
Well, I mean, they're not going to have Joe Hendry win at WrestleMania when he's not on the active roster of WWE.
But still, give him more than like a 2-minute match. Make him. Randy Orton can have a good match with The Rock. Let's be honest.
And I agree. The match could have been longer, but I think, obviously, probably time constraint. Who's going to step up to Randy Orton? Randy Orton proving that, I don't need, he can end the match whenever he wanted, right? It could have been that kind of like, do you really belong here? And, for someone, I mean, how they did it, to get Joe Hendry on WrestleMania. So now he's appeared in 2 big pay-per-views, at least that I've seen, Royal Rumble and now WrestleMania. I think it's only a matter of time where you actually see Joe Hendry in WWE full time. I don't know when it's going to happen. I understand he's the TNA world champ, and I agree with like Wade Barrett and Pat Maggie's like, this should be for the TNA world title. Like, oh, how funny would that have been if Randy Orton would have won that?
Again, like I would not have been opposed to that at all, but that's just going back to what I said. Make it a competitive match. Like Randy Orton, if they're going for 5-10 minutes, back and forth, and then all of a sudden RK out of nowhere and it's over.
Which that RKO, I laughed my ass off because Joe Hendry, his thing is turning around and like smiling and looking at the camera, and then all of a sudden you just see Randy Orton come over out of nowhere, hit him with the RKO. I think that was a great spot, right? Very fitting to RKO Joe Hendry when he's in that spot.
Yeah.
And then Randy Orton doing the right thing, like getting up, helped him out. Did like 3 things and then RKO out of nowhere again. And no one's gonna hate Randy Orton for doing that. You think you're at the point where you can't make Randy Orton you could try to make Randy Orton heel. The crowd's not gonna go with it. I mean, we saw with Austin when at WrestleMania 17 where they're like, Austin, this is your heel turn, and the crowd still cheered for him.
Yeah.
Like you sold your soul to the devil, and you're still getting the cheers. Like you cannot help but like Randy Orton, and it's just for what he's done for the bit. That was his 20th WrestleMania. Like that is insanity.
Yeah.
With not very many wrestlers, I can only name 2 that have that many WrestleManias: Randy Orton and Taker.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that don't even make it 20 years in the company, let alone be at 20 WrestleMania.
Right, and they're consecutive. Like he started off at WrestleMania 21, and 20 years every WrestleMania. So
like the second longest Mania streak.
Well, I mean, let's go appearance matches at WrestleMania. Let's go that make that a stat. Like how many? He has 20 match. Yeah, yay, Randy Orton. Congrats. Proud of you, bud. Now, don't you got Mick Foley to try to RKO and some thumbtacks?
Dude, that would have been it. Yeah, arcade him through a table.
But I was, it was shocking. That's where I was expecting Rusev. I could have been, that could have been a Brock Lesnar return because they feuded a little bit. Remember the one time a few years back where, Paul Heyman was talking about, like, you're never going to hit the RKO on Brock Lesnar. Then Randy Orton pops out of nowhere, whacks him with an RKO. It's like, they were you could have done so much with that mystery opponent, and then you just throw Joe Hendry in it. And I'm like, congrats, Joe Hendry, showing up on the biggest wrestling show of all time, right?
Yeah. And again, as soon as I heard say his name and I was all for it. But again, like how much of it was okay, we got 4 guys in mind. 3 of them couldn't do it. So I guess I'll take Joe Hendry.
Yeah. I mean, what match you got next?
Sorry, I made more coffee here. I was going to say the street fight. Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest.
That was a great match. I picked Drew to win. I think you did too.
Yeah.
So Drew got his WrestleMania moment, again, and didn't get cashed in on because he didn't have nothing to cash in on. But
except
two big guys, brute forces, and Drew McIntyre proved out victor, and I just hope and pray that it was Kaba Faye when Damian Priest when they panned in on him when he said I couldn't breathe. I hope that was part of the show and not legit. He couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Because they had some pretty intense spots. It looked like he was hurting after he did that shockwave DDT on the stairs. Drew McIntyre, I'm talking about. Because those stairs obviously are steel. There's no giving them. So you're just, the only thing stopping you is your body on steel. The table spot, like when Damian Priest decided to try to go old school, that was cool. And I almost forgot that they set up those tables on the outside until Drew pushed them.
Yeah, they're definitely in regards to Damian trying to have him fill that, not so much, but trying to have him fill the Undertaker spot in a little bit, emo Undertaker. And like you said, I hope he's not legit hurt. It's just kayfabe. But it was a good match. 2 big, alpha bears freaking just going at it. And
no, I definitely did like the Claymore kick against the chair to end it. That was a good spot. Just like you said, it was a great match. 2 big guys going against each other. But I don't think, I think this rivalry is going to be done for a while. So hopefully they got plans for Drew McIntyre. And I could, potentially see him start going after Gunther or something. I understand, we'll talk about Raw in a few minutes. But I can definitely see Drew McIntyre reigniting the feud that he had with Gunther and potentially setting something up for a potential triple threat match or whatnot.
yeah.
Didn't they had the Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky?
Yeah, the women's world title. Io retaining.
Yeah, that was the only part that was disappointing in that match, was her retaining. But it was we almost called it, you forgot about her for a split second, and then she did her move and won it, right? We talked about
it's like What was it? Rhea knocked. She was going up top. Rhea friggin' knocked her down. Boom, boom, boom. Here comes Bianca, friggin' interrupting. Friggin' her and Rhea just going at it. You got a pin, and then I even said to Katie because they did not show it in. It was right off screen. I was like, Katie was like, "Oh my god, forget what?" I was like, "Don't forget about EO." Next thing you know,
There she
boom.
is.
I was like,
I mean,
two powerhouse women just duking it out. Here comes EO. EO, EO out of nowhere, like an RKO, and she rolled him up
you
and
know, as you know, they always play the triple threat match. It's like the champion. The champion does not have the champion advantage, right?
no,
You don't even got to be pinned to lose your title. So it's kind of like she picked her spot to retain, and that was a great match. Um, I was that match. My son was watching with me, and he's like, "Man, look at how long Bianca's hair is." And I go, "Yeah, she uses it as a whip." He's like, "Well, when is she going to use it?" And like 5 minutes later, I'm like, "Caden, here it comes," because you saw Bianca wind up with her, and whip Rhea with it, and he just heard the snap, and he was like, "Ah!" And I'm like, "Yeah." And that's like every time she wrestles, she whips somebody with her hair,
yeah,
and like it, I guarantee it hurts worse than how it sounds.
yeah. That sound. I will always say that sound is pumped in. You know what I mean? Like, but to get tagged with that hair, especially when she's whipping around and all of a sudden that towel whip on you. Oh, uh, it just to catch that hair. I'm sure it's friggin' right on the thigh or right on the ass. Imagine the tip of your dick. Ugh.
Mm. You know,
But um,
Intercontinental title match, the Fatal 4-Way.
yeah, I was just gonna that that IC title match may have been my favorite match of the night.
That was a great match. I picked Braun Breaker to win.
So did I.
Was wrong, but I think this is going to start something with Dominic Mysterio getting forced out of Judgment Day now. Because
It's another
remember,
chink in their armor.
right, he won the title. He's the one who frog splashed on top of Finn Balor,
And then pinned Finn Balor.
and then pinned Finn Balor.
And
So,
he was gonna 619 Finn too before Finn stopped him.
right. So, um, I'm actually not mad with Dominic winning. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna push him. And I can honestly see him kind of doing like if he gets booted out of Judgment Day, I think we see Dominic Mysterio going for a face turn.
Well, I think we talked about it on last week that we kind of hinted at if Dom wins, he needs it to, start building on his own.
Right.
And after, I'm sure you saw after he won, he was getting cheered.
He was.
Like that was a pop. And when he was walking out of the ring with Finn, he turned around and was looking. And he ran back into the ring to the post, and people freaking popped for him.
So
Like,
we could start, it could be a natural face turn,
yeah.
right?
And from that moment on, like, it wasn't that long ago that anytime he tried talking, people booed
They were
him.
booing over him. They
Yeah.
were booing over him.
And then he
So
wins a Mania, and all of a sudden he's getting the biggest cheer of the night. I would say that was the biggest cheer of WrestleMania. I dare say.
yeah. Then the women's tag team, which Becky Lynch returned
Yes.
and
And
won.
I called it.
You did. You said Becky Lynch. I don't know who else they're going to fill. That was the only possible, only legit answer was Becky Lynch.
And I remember Katie asking me, and I was like, I don't know. And then I heard it might have been Pat McAfee saying something about fellow English woman. And I was like, fucking Becky. And Katie was like, because our only other thought was maybe somebody from NXT.
Right.
Stephanie McCurr or something. But then I was like, what about fucking Becky? She was with Seth at the Hall of Fame induction, so she's back. And then her music hit. People go crazy. I was like, and then they immediately lose it again on Raw. So,
Yeah, I mean, hey, I was, I liked the match. I may have been paying more attention to Liv Morgan, but I liked the match. I mean, it's Liv Morgan.
again, you have the Trailer Park Barbie, the Big Jack's Mamacita, and a redhead, and then Lyra.
Which I never heard of Ira until I saw her. I'm like, she actually has some talent.
Yeah,
So
there's potential too.
now I could see a potential women's intercontinental match for her versus Becky. Because Becky obviously on Raw, turned on her. We're on the main event now, aren't we?
Yeah, last match of the night. Cena won.
He got the record. They did. I think the business did him right, and it matches. Like I was talking to a couple people, and they were mad on how John Cena won. I go, he's always won every match legit, and this is like the real first time he's been a heel. So I go, why would it be fitting to him to win as he did? I mean, he's a heel. It's only going to make his character that much better if he wins in an asshole fashion with smashing Cody over the head with the title belt, right?
Yeah, it was definitely on par with a heel move.
Definitely. And the only thing I could have taken away from that, man, the Travis Scott coming out, right? I mean, really? I mean,
if it was The Rock, it would have been a whole different situation.
Absolutely. Hell of a lot more believable, right? Why not let Cody Rhodes hit The Rock with a crossroads, right? Maybe get that fuck you in you, real quick, and then have the same result happen. But let Cody get a little redemption, because how many times did Rock whip his ass with the belt and all that, right? But Rock didn't make an appearance at all. That was kind of a little. Really, you're gonna help John Cena do this heel turn, but not appear for when he wins the belt. Unless they got something else brewing. I don't know, right? I mean,
and I hope they do, because my initial reaction is, the match was kind of. Excuse me. Sorry. No, it was the match itself was kind of flat to me.
well, again, I think that's playing off on Cena's heel, because normally you see Cena go and he gives everything he has the whole time. He's full throttle the entire time. He kind of played that, I'm going to go at my pace. And then once he got the upper hand, then that's when he started going into it.
And, again, I could deal with Cena winning, because it opens up storyline. You know what I mean? Give Cody a break. You know what I mean? He'll probably take a few weeks off and come back in time for Backlash. And see where they go with it. But I'm just, I remember sending at work. I'm like, really, you gotta give it to him.
Well, I mean, you had to give it. You had to give it to John Cena for what he's done for the business, right? I mean, he got his 17th. He holds the record by himself for most world championships, most world championship titles held. So he's one above Ric Flair. So now he's got to be in the conversation, regardless. But it's interesting, because now he said he may, like he said on Raw, is like the rest of the dates, they're just appearances. You know, oh, sorry. I could do thumbs up and it makes a thumb up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what the fuck is that?
Look, watch. Watch. Ah.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
Balloons.
Balloons for Ruth Day.
Thumbs down. Mine. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it. Boo. Sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, I mean,
That was like the gay, you know, the hearts are like, or it might like if it's like a gay Street Fighter, you know, the Ruke, it's a Gator, you know, and then the hearts come out.
in case you guys know, that's Joe going gay for John Cena. But yeah,
Well, it's on the now it's on the internet forever.
But yeah, so that's WrestleMania 41, folks. A little
Gay
bit of
hearts and all.
the balloons. Just to touch on the Raw following WrestleMania.
No, you always known the Raw after WrestleMania is like the biggest Raw, right? Returns happen, shocking things happen. They could have done a lot better with how they handled the Raw after WrestleMania. In my eyes, I just caught highlights, right? You had Rusev return. Why not at WrestleMania?
Yeah,
Right? Unless they could, like, to your point, unless they couldn't get things done. But why not at WrestleMania?
yeah. I don't know if he was still technically under contract with AEW on Sunday, and then Monday he was cleared, and they penciled it in real quick. Or maybe there's a little bit of a couple of days no compete. I'm not sure. But to hear his, with respect to Joe Henry, to hear his music hit as Randy Orton's mystery opponent would have been freaking. You know what I mean?
Like you said, they had Liv Morgan and get her tag team titles back, and then Becky Lynch turned. Braun Breaker sided with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins,
Which is kind of related to each other. My first instinct was, oh, they're bringing back the Dangerous Alliance from Paul's time in WCW. With Becky turning on Lyra, you think she's going to side with Seth? And because we already got Seth in like the Steve Austin role. We're gonna have Brock in, like kind of like the Rick Rude role. He's gonna fill the Medusa role. You know what I mean? Try to build up that Dangerous Alliance again. And now here we are. We got somebody going against Judgment Day. One thing I heard somebody say last week is, where has the Wyatt Six been? And they're like, they only show up when there's betrayal, the past judgment. Maybe this is their way of coming back, bringing them back in and going against Heyman's crew.
Right.
So, it's like this whole, the entire fallout of WrestleMania, there's a lot of directions they can go.
Then Gunther going after Michael Cole, and Michael Cole kind of like, well, all respect to you, Gunther, but I wasn't the one who tapped out. Good for Michael Cole for having the balls to say that to Gunther, knowing what the result was going to be. And then Pat McAfee obviously stepping in, and then he got caught up. So does Pat McAfee get back in the ring and go against Gunther?
I like Pat McAfee, but he would get destroyed.
Right. I mean, you can't have Pat McAfee win that match. Like, on paper, no. You got to have him like, okay, you stick up for your friend, you stick up for yourself, but you're just going to lose, right? We got to play Gunther back on this role of Unstoppable. Hi. How you lost last night, Ripley?
But let's be honest, seeing Rhea Ripley get spanked by her hair, we all won.
I think there was a lot of ass in that match.
A lot of cake.
A lot of cake. So there's definitely a lot of different directions. So excited to see. Also, we got to watch SmackDown and see if on the other side how things are going to turn out there on SmackDown side. So
And it's going to be a wild couple weeks between now and Backlash.
Backlash.
And hell, probably there's going to be echoes of it all the way into SummerSlam. You know what
Well,
I mean?
don't forget, Money in the Bank is before that. So whoever wins the men's Money in the Bank, call this a way early prediction. But whoever wins the men's Money in the Bank is gonna be going after Cena.
Yeah, and it just popped back in my head. I think we briefly texted back and forth about it. When Jimmy went on the ring with Jay, I was holding my breath.
Thinking if Jimmy was gonna turn on his brother.
Or then Jay was going to turn on him.
It wouldn't be, maybe have two faces go against each other, like one victor, title match,
Yeah, it would. Just try to think like who would win Money in the Bank and who would they cash in on? Would it be Cena? Would it be
no,
Jay?
if anything, I would be, if it's not Cena, have Drew McIntyre compete, win the Money in the Bank again, cash in on Jay, and finally maybe give that man the rightful respect that he deserves. Let him hold the title longer than 5 fucking minutes with fans in front of him. And then maybe you get your Gunther Drew McIntyre thing started again, right? Because they had some great matches. That's no disrespect for Jay, but he worked his way up. He's definitely one in the popular side of the fans. So give him his title reign. Don't make it too long. Make it believable.
Yeah, he doesn't need to hold it for a year. You know what I mean?
Nope.
A couple weeks. Maybe a couple months, and 2-3 months.
Let him drop it.
And I think everybody would be happy by that. And with Cena, I think is where everybody will be more focused in on.
Like how they're going to make him defend his title.
Yeah.
When? And I could foresee it happening not at Backlash, not at Money in the Bank. I can see it happening at the biggest summer event, which is SummerSlam.
And I think we briefly talked about it, that he said, "Oh, it's only appearances. I'm gonna friggin' win this and walk away with it." Is he just gonna keep avoiding title matches, and then they're gonna have to bring out the new title?
Or is there a little foreshadowing? Because when don't forget, Randy Orton hit him with an RKO on Raw, and then held the title up.
Yeah, is that gonna be the next?
Is that the next move? Is that going to set up a title match for a pay-per-view? Because you could see Cena dropping it to Randy Orton.
Yeah, and like Randy winning it and then immediately defending it or giving it up, or whoever wins Money in the Bank immediately comes out and cashes in. But it's gonna be an interesting ride, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. Well, I gotta head on in.
All right. We
Always a
we're just
pleasure.
hitting the hour mark anyway, so I'll let you go. Get to work. Make that bread.
Make that bread. Make that shampoo and conditioner and hair gel and hairspray and yeah,
That lube.
no lube. We do make silicone products that I wouldn't. Maybe you can use as lube.
Oh, silicone products.
Yeah, they got this spray. It's supposed to make your hair shiny. For those who have hair,
I
let
mean,
me just get that up.
can you spray it on top of your head and then polish it in real quick?
I mean, sure.
Yeah, give the 4 hairs on your head a little upgrade.
They look fantastic, man. They're really shining. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, bud. Till next time.
Till next time.
Happy WrestleMania,
Hey,
bud.
do you want 2-piece cheesecake?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, peace out.
Okay, peace out.
Okay, peace out.